Do you need legal help at liquor store prices? Do you feel like you're going to lose a case because you can't afford an attorney? Did the court clerk tell you to go to self-help and you needed help understanding self-help? Or do you just want to know how to start a business or even a nonprofit? I have worked in the legal industry for over 20 years. I have a master's in business management, and I have provided consulting services to numerous law firms, businesses, and nonprofits. My name is Camila Hakim, and I'm here to help you. Welcome to Liquor Store Legal. I'm Camila Hakim. I own a legal document assistant company, but I've worked in the legal industry for more than 20 years. And now I am dedicated to my passion, which is giving back to underserved communities. And today we have a very special guest that's going to hit on the topic of the foster care system and kids that age out of that system, what happens to them next, which is a very sensitive topic, dealing with sex trafficking. My very important guest today is Arzo Yusuf. Arzo spearheads Angel's Nest, which is helping those kids that have aged out of the underserved community. She's also very involved with the Greater Los Angeles Legal Administrators, which is how I came to know her. I should also mention that she is a woman of achievement for the Century City Chamber of Commerce. Welcome, Arzo Yusuf. So happy to have you here today. Man, you've got a long list of credentials.
Thank you so much, Camila. I always get nervous and embarrassed.
Oh, no worries.
But thank you.
Oh, and you're pink. We're both wearing pink today. I think you told me that's your color and your brand colors. Yes. So I want to honor that by sharing the pink with you today.
We're matching.
And you know, I'm a very upbeat person. I love to be pleasant, but today we're actually here to talk about a not so pleasant topic.
Yes.
And if you don't mind, I'm going to cut away for just a few seconds because you gave a very important TED Talk about the subject of sex trafficking. Let's cut away for just a second.
A third of our homeless population is attributed to youth in foster care. 90% of incarcerated inmates have a history of being in the foster care system. And this brings me to my next point, that 80% of sex trafficking victims are kids from foster care.
Arzo, that was such a powerful TED Talk. How did you end up doing that speech? I think you had mentioned to me prior that you were with an organization that organized that TED Talk.
So that particular TEDx talk was through TEDx Delthorn Women, and it was focused on women doing various impactful things in the community. And so my topic was End Sex Trafficking by Helping Foster Youth. And I chose that topic because most people are not aware of the link between foster care to sex trafficking and to homelessness and to the criminal justice system. So I thought that if more people became aware, more people would be willing to get involved and help.
And this is exactly how it came to my attention, because I attended one of your talks to the legal community trying to bring awareness and find support for that issue. Can you, we're going to start by just finding out how someone that ages out of the foster care system, how did they get lured by a sex trafficker? How did they even get on their radar?
So it's pretty shocking, and that's a great question. And what happens, unfortunately, is the fact that kids that are in foster care typically don't have safe adult relationships. And so they're vulnerable. They don't have strong family support systems. Sometimes they don't have a strong connection to their biological parents. And unfortunately, not all foster parents are in it for the right reasons, so they don't provide a lot of support. So traffickers target them at school. They find out who is somebody from foster care. They will target group homes, and which is called something different, but they're facilities where foster youth live until they're 18 because they didn't have a foster parent that would take them. So these are kids that are teenagers. So just think back to our youth when we were teenagers.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. I remember.
All the hormones, all of the different things, we're sad over a crush that we had, or a bad grade, or, friendship gossip circles and things like that. So you have a parent to usually go to and talk about those kinds of things. Well, these kids not only don't have that when they're going through regular teenage challenges, but they're also not in a stable place, and they don't have someone they can go to and turn to for support. And so traffickers know this. They target them, and they will form relationships with them, and they end up being the person to offer them, hey, let me take you to lunch. Hey, let's go get your nails done. Let's go get your hair done. And so all of a sudden you're getting a little bit of attention, and that feels good. And so you're going to go hang out with them. You're going to go places with them. And then before you know it, there's a relationship that's developed, and there's loyalty. And then, unfortunately, that's when they start getting sold to customers.
And I think it's a pretty large percentage of these young people that get trafficked. Can you give me an idea of what those numbers are?
Yeah, so one of the things about sex trafficking is that it happens different everywhere. So the way that sex trafficking happens in America is different than it happens in Thailand or another country. So here in America, like I said, they get targeted, or they target kids from foster care. So just to think about the numbers or the scope of it, we have close to 500,000 kids in the American foster care system.
Okay.
And so
wow, that's a big number.
It's a big number. It's a big number. And, California has 70,000 kids in foster care, around 60 to 70,000. Los Angeles has about 30,000 kids in foster care. And so the percentage of kids that do get trafficked, 85% of that number are kids from foster care.
Oh.
So the majority of kids that get trafficked have a history of being in foster care.
And so I know that there are various theories and vocabulary built around this topic, but I think that there are certain people that present themselves as a love interest.
Yes.
And what do you call that particular?
There's a phrase, and it's Romeo something. I actually forgot the phrase off the top of my head, but it's when that young man essentially love bombs the young girl, and so it's that relationship that she's missing in her life. Somebody to give her access to love and affection, or what she thinks is love and affection, right? And it turns out that it's not. It's one of the most dangerous types of relationships.
And I'm assuming that this could also happen to the LGBTQ plus community as well. So young men can be just as susceptible as the young women. Is that right?
That is correct. So there's actually high instances of kids that are in foster care that identify as LGBT, and it is not a phenomenon that is just limited to young girls. It does include young boys as well. And so it's really about who's vulnerable and who can we target, and who can we provide as inventory, because that's what the traffickers are thinking. And so that's the part that we don't understand as a society, that it's not just this, sad thing, or how does this happen? For the traffickers, this is a business. And so the person, the human being, is a piece of inventory that they can sell over and over.
Well, I know there must be numerous examples of this and personal instances that you've been through and helped these kids. But can you give us an example? Someone ages out of the foster care system, they're removed from their group home, then what happens? What does the system provide them with when that happens?
Sure. So what the unfortunate part about our system itself, and it's the foster care system, and different states will call it something different, is that the goal of these organizations is actually to promote family reunification. Okay. So when kids get removed and put into foster care, they're not supposed to stay there. They're supposed to, there's about an 18-month window to give the parent enough time to get their life in order so they can get their child back.
They're supposed to return to mom and dad or a family member. That's what's supposed to happen.
Correct.
Okay.
And that unfortunately doesn't always happen for various reasons. Sometimes the parent can't get their life together. They're going through experiences of joblessness or homelessness or drug abuse, or they're incarcerated. So oftentimes they don't get their child back. So then what happens? They get placed into a foster family. And sometimes those foster placements don't work out. So they get moved from one foster family to another foster family. In each one of those movements is another environment, and it's another trauma. So there's a significant amount of psychological impact that affects these youth. In worst case scenarios, these kids end up in a group home setting. And so group home, you don't even have that foster parent. You're not in a regular house setting. It's a very institutionalized setting.
Is there a better or worse? Is it better to go to a family setting versus a group home setting? Who makes that decision?
So the decision usually happens through the social workers. And so the best efforts are always made to try to place them within a safe home environment with a family. And sometimes kids might act up. Sometimes the parents don't want to do it anymore, so they'll contact the social worker and say, you know what, you need to remove this placement, or can you find another placement for me, the child will say. And so the social worker will look for other placements. And kids that are usually over 7 years old, there is a stat that says that they're deemed unadoptable. So
after a certain age?
After a certain age.
What would that be? What's that age?
7 years old.
Oh.
After 7. So if they don't have a permanent placement,
they're just babies.
They're babies.
At 7.
They're babies. And they don't really get the chance. And so there are kids that end up in those group home settings if they can't find a placement for them. And there's not enough foster parents compared to how many kids there are in the system. Okay. So there's a shortage of actual foster parents.
And is there a racial or ethnic breakdown as to which groups of kids are more susceptible? Does that matter?
It's in terms of what is susceptible, it can affect, really any race. Unfortunately, it does affect more families that are in the African American community and other minority communities like Hispanics.
No, why is that?
It's so many different factors are attributed to why that happens, and it really comes down to having that stable home environment. There's one of the other statistics that's related is that something like 88% of cases of kids in foster care should never really be removed. So, for example, in the African American community, there are higher instances of single motherhood. And so we're finding a lot of these cases are mothers who are single, and they might not have a bed for their child. So it's not an egregious issue.
But they're removed from the home because the parent simply can't afford the circumstance, the perfect home conditions.
Exactly.
I have said on a personal level, why aren't we giving money to the single mothers or the families that have low income? Why aren't we helping them instead of taking their kids away? But that, I can get on my soapbox.
But I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you, and you're correct for pointing that out. And we need to, as a society, start thinking differently. And instead of just following the current rules, which is, okay, well, the rules are that if a child doesn't have a bed in their home, then this is an unsafe environment, we need to remove the child. Well, removing a child from their parent causes so much trauma over the years, not just in that separation, but in other separations. So we're actually creating the problems that we're trying to solve as a society. Because like I said, once they end up in foster care, the chances of them getting back to their parents is very slim.
It's very slim.
And then when they age out, they end up becoming victims of sex trafficking. They become, 33% of homeless in Los Angeles have a history of being in foster care, or again, being impacted by the criminal justice system. So we can solve all this if we can just not remove the child, if they're not being severely abused through, sexual violence or physical violence. If it's just poverty, let's help out the mom, like you said.
Well, that brings me to Angel's Nest. Angel's Nest was born from this problem because?
Yes. So we have a long founder story, and I'm not the founder, I'm the executive director. And the founders, they in their upbringing, they had somebody in their life that they knew was in the foster care system, and that really impacted them. So when they decided to start this nonprofit, they wanted to focus the mission on kids from foster care because they saw firsthand what happens when kids don't have support. And so our tagline for Angel's Nest is creating the foster care to success pipeline.
I love it.
Yeah.
Because it's positive, positive.
Yeah, it's positive.
Yeah.
And, kind of going back to the TED Talk, one of the things that I said in that is that the bad guys are winning because they're targeting these kids, they're offering them things, and then they're taking them down a bad path. What are the good guys doing? Because there's a lot of us.
What are the good guys?
Yeah. So it's time for the good guys to step up, and it's because we don't know about the problems. So together, through this wonderful show, we're helping raise awareness to the community. Education. Yeah.
Yes.
And so the more people that know, more people are going to want to get involved and help these youth.
So how does Angel's Nest find these kids?
Outreach.
Outreach.
Yes, we do a ton of outreach.
Okay.
And so we have partnerships with a few different universities, including Cal State Dominguez Hills, Cal Poly Pomona, Cal State LA, and Cal State Long Beach, among some other colleges. And we do an annual donation to the school for their Guardian Scholar program that specifically helps youth from foster care. And so we help with summer housing.
So if I know one of these kids, or I see a kid on the street, and I live in San Fernando Valley, that's my community, I tell them go to their local community college, or where do I tell them to go and find Angel's Nest?
So one of the great things about our program is we developed in 2022, we started our Resource Navigator program. And so through the years of doing this work and talking to so many subject matter experts, what we have found is that there's actually a lot of resources that exist to help youth that have exited foster care. But even they don't have the knowledge on how to get access to those resources. So we've created or we've compiled a list of resources, and not only that, we financially provide support in certain instances. And so when we do our outreach, or if you end up coming across somebody, that's also considered outreach. Let them know to go to our website, angelsnestlp.org, and there's a space.
Angel's Nest TLP.
Yes.
.org.
Yes.
Okay, let's not forget
Yes.
that. Yeah.
And they can fill out an intake form. It's a really short intake form where they put their information in, and one of our resource navigators, who are former foster youth, they will contact them and say, hey, we looked at your intake form. It looks like you need books for school, or you need rent this month because you're facing an emergency. And so depending on certain criteria, we'll make approvals and we'll help them with those things.
Where does Angel's Nest get that funding?
So we get funding through private donors. And we at this time, we don't have any government support. So we don't do government grants or contracts yet. And through our private donations, we're able to sustain.
Are you a
Angel's Nest.
501c3?
We are.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So any donations that come to us.
For my viewers, a 501c3 means that Angel's Nest has tax-exempt status. So they are eligible to do fundraising. And I encourage you to do that at angelsnestlp.org.
Yes. Very good memory.
Thank you for letting me interrupt there. So what's new? What is your call to action now? What can we do as a community to help you in this fight?
Great question. And we need the community's help right now. We need it more than ever, especially post-pandemic. So many youth are struggling. So supporting Angel's Nest through donations or getting involved to volunteer is very helpful. We started or launched a housing program last year, and we've got young women that have aged out of foster care that live in that housing program.
Ooh, nice.
Yes.
What is that like?
Yes, it is a handful. It is challenging, but it's incredibly rewarding, and you can see the movement, the forward progress movement of these young ladies when you pour into them.
Wow.
And our program is not just like here it's room and board and that's it.
We drop them off.
Right. We do program for them. We do life skills. We take them out into the community. I take them to meetings. People get to meet them. They get to interact and learn from business leaders. They get to go on boating outings. We go to the beach. Things to help with their mental health. Things for them to start healing. And that's a big part of it.
A quick shout out to my mentee. If you're watching this, she's doing amazing things. I know she's in community college. She's getting healthy. She's thriving.
Yes.
She's moving forward in her life. So I can speak firsthand that Angel's Nest is making a real impact on these kids. What's coming up next? So you have some events and fundraisers?
Yeah, so we have an event coming up in November 16th at the Waldorf Astoria.
Waldorf?
Yes.
Cool. The fundraising must be good.
You know, we like to treat our donors well and invite them to a nice brunch. So it's a morning event, but it's really impactful. It's the second year that we're doing it, and people that attended last year were just really moved by our speakers. We had someone from the court system speaking about her experience working with youth that were in foster care, talking about her book. We had a panel of former foster youth speaking about their experiences, and it was really the first time that the audience got to hear firsthand from them about their struggles, their challenges, and how Angel's Nest helps, and the type of support that they need. And touching back on what you were saying about providing a shout out to your mentee,
yes,
that is the answer. That is the answer. Just because these kids aged out at 18, it doesn't mean that they're fully grown and fully mature and adults. They need the support for longer.
They need support.
They need love that
they
they didn't
need
even
someone
get.
modeling.
They do. Modeling someone they can reach out to. And so that mentorship is so important. And that story that, or your mentee, for example, she went through such challenging times when we found her. She was on a really dangerous path. Mental health was being affected, and we just really pleaded with her to just trust us, and we're gonna get you to where you need to go.
It's so hard for them to trust.
It is, and
because
it's not their fault.
Most of their life they have not been able to trust adults. So how do we now convince them to trust us?
Exactly.
Right.
And so that becomes challenging, and we were able to get her to convince her to trust us, and so helped her out with housing, helped her get a job, and she's in school now, and her life is stable, and she's doing great.
Okay,
and
but
thank you for getting involved.
Of course. But I want to know, how do I get a ticket to the Waldorf?
Oh, I got you.
I thank you all for joining us today with Arzo Yusuf from Angel's Nest, and I encourage you to go to their website, Angel's Nest, TLP.org, and participate in their events. Contribute. Help them with a fundraiser. Until next time, Liquor Store Legal will be bringing the resources to help this community. See ya.